Welcome to New Voices in ELT, English Language Teaching, a podcast organized by TalentHut Academy, where we explore together the journeys and ideas of educators shaping the future of English language teaching. I'm your host, Sabina Rustamova, sending love and greetings from Land of Fire, Azerbaijan. Today's guest is a fresh and inspiring actually educator from another part of the world whose career truly embodies the spirit of global education, Tanzim Ahmed. So, Tanzim, in today's conversation, we'll try to take a look closer at what inspired you to be an English teacher. So, can you please tell us a little bit about that? Please.
Wonderful, wonderful, Sabina. It's really wanted to be here, first of all, and second of all, you had really wonderful, impressive introduction, right? So, well, why I came to education sector, especially is because the place where I grown up in Bangladesh, a very ordinary village, where we didn't have much, qualified teachers, and our teachers were pretty much like pretty traditional, I would say. They focuses on a lot of grammar stuffs, and we had to, like memorize a lot of things. And eventually, I find that there's no relevant with the practical world. And I found one of my best favorite quote about teaching is that somebody said to me that, like, be the person who you felt that you needed in your early life. So I wanted to be be a teacher just to help other students, or to help the community where I belong to, and to impact there, so that they can find the best teachers in their life, in their early stage, right, where I became motivated to be a teacher, right.
Okay, so apparently I was so right, and it wasn't so coincidence to mention you as an inspiring teacher. So, if you had to sum up your classroom life, how would you describe your teaching style in just 3 words?
So, from my experience, what I really understood about that is that, like, my teaching style is pretty much like, like quite diverse, because I worked with a lot of like different age group, like from kids to adults. So from there, I learned that teacher has to be like very adaptable with working with different community, even working with international students. So from my side, I would say that I personally try to be more adaptable to my with my students, and try to focus on their like problem and things that I can solve. And one thing that I wanted to mention here is that always like student centered, it's like student oriented. I never wanted to have a plan and try to implement those plan in the class. Rather, I focus on like what they actually are looking for, what they actually need in order to learn better. And in different stage of their learning, I face different challenges and problems, and I try to be more creative, solving that problem instantly. It's not like pre-planned lesson, but all about like making stuffs new for them in order to make them more interactive and like hooked on our lesson. Yeah.
Okay.
These are like adaptability skills, and like these are, I would say, like student centered. These are main character. This plays the main character of my teaching style, right?
Okay, that's actually interesting. You highlighted about the lesson plans. So I would like just ask you about the lesson plans, since you mentioned that it's not just big issue for you not to plan the lesson. So what do you think? How you are coping with that is like a case when not to plan the lesson?
Okay. So basically, so far we have learned, like my case, I learned from things from book, but the system has changed. I mean, if we look back over the last 10 years, artificial intelligence and a lot of like software development has emerging in this world. And as a teacher, we have to learn new things in order to cope up with the next generation. So for my teaching style, I would consider like like a lot of like video materials and a lot of visualization in their teaching. So so to make them more attentive in the class, and to make them focused on our class, because we know that like our attention span has reduced a lot. We couldn't focus in certain things, right? So even in Finland, what I have noticed here is that like we don't have to study any particular book. Rather, they allow us to know from internet, to know from to know by researching stuff. So I try to implement those techniques to make them more creative, or to solve problem by themselves, right? So I actually don't usually follow any book. Rather, I focus on like the things already existing in the internet, and try to be more personalized teacher, try to help them personally where they are facing challenges, right?
Okay,
Yeah.
great. All right, so let's now focus on another question where I would like to know about your international journey. Like, what brought you to Finland to start your teaching career? And probably you came there not only for teaching. You have another aim. So please tell us about that.
Well, it's an interesting question, though. Well, we all know that Finland is one of the best education destination for international student, basically for their really creative and wonderful education system. The education system has been designed systematically, and on top of that, we all know that Finland is one of the peaceful country in the world. They have been continuously becoming the peaceful country in the world. So for me, peace is something that comes from educated mind. I mean, well-educated mind. So if I can come to Finland and to be well educated myself, and yeah, I will find peace. And it's really regretful to say that the country where I originally born, there's a lot of chaotic situations. People are like fighting with each other. There's a lot of political problems that they're crushing. They have been going through. So I personally wanted to change myself first, and I wanted to still like I'm like trying to learning new things from here, and trying to implement those steps in my country. I'm trying to build up the next generation better. So my passion to change my village, at least, that brought me here, especially because I wanted to, success. I wanted to be the real world change maker. I wanted to build the next generation the way that first and modern world are going, right?
Actually, by mentioning all those peace actions and controversial issues that are happening right now in most of the countries, reminded me about one quote of Nelson Mandela, as he mentioned that education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. So that's really nice to know the person who has that kind of intention as well. All right, so as you mentioned, the reason why you came, that was extremely interesting for me, since the Finnish people are considered as the happiest people all over the world, and because of their peaceful mindset. So, all right, moving abroad always brings challenges. What kind of challenge did you face, and when you first arrived in Finland, and how did you overcome them?
Okay. Okay. When it comes to talk about challenges, well, the first challenge that I still experience is that coping up with multicultural people. So still, I feel like, because I didn't travel much so far in my life. So Finland was my first country where I directly moved from Bangladesh. So I had some problem, because in my country we have different cultural background. We can, we behaved in certain way with our friends, but here we have to think before we, like making friendship, or to make the collaboration, or to blend with the society. Especially Finland is non-native country, so I don't know Finnish fluently. I can speak a little bit of it, but not fluent. So in that sense, like I couldn't make very intimate friends, right? So the problem that I'm facing right now, like, I can't find out the same mentality people because I cannot share to them my feelings. I mean, the cultural background, even, I think it's not all about from my side, but all about like the scenario is a little bit different. Like Finland is a little bit like individualistic culture, but Bangladesh is kind of like collectivism. They do follow like in a group of people. They do everything in a group of people. But here, people are very isolated from each other. So that's challenges that I'm suffering a lot. Still now I'm suffering a lot, right? And yeah, some of the challenges, but I don't think that that would like be that impactful for me as it is.
Okay.
Right.
As you mentioned about the challenge and cultural actually challenge, as you mentioned. So I would like to ask you, probably you have good students from different cultures, and how do you handle those students? Supposedly you are having online lessons, right? So as you based right now in let's say Finland, and they are far away from you, and you try to cope with those lessons, how you handle like students like from different cultures, from diverse backgrounds.
Okay. So basically, the first thing that I'd like to do here is that to learn some of languages from my student side, because otherwise it's quite really difficult for me to make the impression. So the thing is, like when I teach Japanese students, I try to use some Japanese words like konnichiwa. They usually like instantly they feel better. You know, they feel that we are connected somehow.
Mhm.
So I try to use their language a little bit. I mean, as best as I can, and also it's all about like
You try
like
to
when it comes to talk
build,
about.
you try to build bond, as I understood, between
Yeah,
you
yeah,
and
it is
your
important.
student.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it is important. And also like when it comes to talking about ESL, we use TPR a lot, like total physical response. We try to make them like work rather, giving a lot of like lecture or materials. Rather, we just make them work, do things by themselves, right? So this is what I like to do, right? To engage them in the lesson plan, right?
Okay, so what about the teaching methodologies and techniques do you use? Since you mentioned TPR, total response, total physical response. So I would like to know about more methodologies and techniques that you are applying right now, specifically in online lessons.
Mhm. Well, basically, it differs. Obviously, for kids, it goes in some certain way. For adults, it differs. But in general, like as I told you earlier, that I try to use a lot of materials from online. So the teaching method that best works here for me is that CCQ1, like question checking, like I'm
Concentrating
asking a lot
question.
of questions. Yeah, yeah, CCQ, so they can answer me back as well. So in that way, I'm trying to get that whether they really got my message or not. Also, I try to make them like play games, like a lot of social games are there, own games are there. So I try to implement those in my lesson materials. Noticeably, like Simon Says, my kids love to play
Mhm.
Simon Says games, and also like they love to play a lot of like truth and dare. They're really into it. Like when I'm playing games, they're literally hooked on it. And the one technique that I usually follow, and I love to tell people to follow, especially in my country, uh, people are teaching English in Bengali language. From my side, it's not worth of it, because I love to teach English in English language, because
Mhm.
whether we are learning something, we make sure the environment where everybody is sharing thoughts and sharing, I mean, where mistakes are not appreciated, where people can like correspondingly share their ideas and immerse themselves there. So that's like techniques and things that I usually implement or try to implement in my lesson, though it's online, because back then in 2020, I worked in several institutions in Bangladesh, and that time I worked physically. and I remember that it's still one of the best part of my life. Still I'm passionate to work in physical institution, right? But right now, just trying to build up myself to make myself qualified enough in order to get a good position in somewhere in Finland, or yeah, most probably in Finland, because this is not native country. I have chances to be an English teacher here as well, right?
Okay, great. So, as it's obvious, many teachers dream of working abroad, and I would like to get advice, recommendation from you. What advice would you give to those planning to start their journey abroad?
I mean, you are asking like if anybody wants to start a journey in abroad, what advice can I give
Yes,
him or her, right? Okay, so
where to start?
basically,
How to
where to start
yeah,
off,
how to
right?
compile that roadmap? Where to start?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, for me, what I have experienced is that, like, first to educate himself, right? It is important because in my country, it doesn't require to be qualified in order to be an English teacher. People can be, but in Finland, well, you have to have the master degree in educational science. Otherwise, you cannot apply there. So first, well, basically, you must have to have a bachelor. It doesn't have to be like in English field. I'm talking about only in Finland, but it can be different in other countries. But I must have to have a master program in educational science. On top of that, like you can do like Delta, Celta, or ELT, right? A lot of like courses online. Everybody can do that. I'm trying to do one of them, but still, like so far I have like IELTS certificate, but that's not enough for teaching abroad. So you need to have like some other certification that I have already mentioned out in order to get a job, or in order to be apply there. So their apply requirement is different. So check the apply requirement and first make yourself qualified enough, right? Then the best thing that I have noticed is that when you are starting doing something, when you have started something, you will learn like on the way of the journey. So you can learn gradually, but the initial requirements you must have to have the ability to fulfill. Otherwise, you can't dive into it, right?
Okay, thank you very much. So, speaking of professionalism, as you mentioned, those steps are unique ones, crucial ones to follow, to follow, let's say, celta, TESOL, TEFL. Delta, it's a little bit advanced one, but still makes sense. However, those ones, yes, are really important one to be more qualified teacher, specifically abroad, if you want to work abroad. Yeah, okay, so let me give you a question about the AI, since it's very trendy, compelling, yes, right now, because, and also I consider AI as a teacher assistant. So if you don't mind, I would tell you that yes, AI is a really great tool as a teacher assistant to optimize the time, to compile all those worksheets by just addressing or commanding, let's say, several orders, and that's it. So the worksheet, or let's say any other, let's say, material is just one click away from you to be ready. So can you please tell me about the AI tools? Which apps, platforms do you find most effective and that can be efficient to our listeners as well? So please share your ideas. They are available for us.
Okay. So for me, well, still now I couldn't focus on much on AI platform. So for like I use ChatGPT most of the time to plan things, and even I try to help my students to use that in positive way, obviously, because people are like misconducting a lot when ChatGPT has arrived in this era. So they're like doing things just by the help of ChatGPT, and they're not like working much. So it's a real concern as a teacher for me. So I try not to make them really focused on ChatGPT, rather to learn from someone else, because just learning from someone, it also like it relates a lot of things. It's not about like teaching and learning things. You can like collaborate, you can like engage, you can learn to respect others, you can make friends, you can do a lot of stuff when you're learning like by a teacher. But compared to artificial intelligence and ChatGPT or AI related software, well, I'm not especially like like kind of like I don't know why, but it just comes to me that this can be a negative effects for the future children as well, because eventually this might have some drawbacks. But I like as best as I can possibly make my students be aware of those steps as well.
Yeah, I agree. I agree totally with you. Excessive consumption of ChatGPT or any artificial intelligence, as you mentioned, may lead detrimental impact on, let's say, future generation. But still, it makes sense by by optimizing time, as I mentioned. Yeah, so we can actually somehow can handle the let's say some cases by using ChatGPT or any other tool such as Defeat, Snorkel, what else I know about Class Companion, and so on, actually. So, all right, let me give you another question. Innovation keeps lesson exciting. Have you ever used gamification or project-based learning? Because you mentioned that you love to inquire, to request the student to inquire, to be inquirer. And so, how do you cope? How do you conduct all those lessons by like assigning your student projects, and what kind of projects there might be?
Okay, so basically the software that I usually use is called Games. It's the name is Games, and I find a lot of games over there. And yeah, and also like there's another software that I usually use is that Bamboo Boozle. It has paid version, but I usually go with the free one. So Bamboo Boozle. It sounds a little bit weird.
Yeah, I know that it's a bamboozle.
Yeah, bamboozle. Okay, so yeah, like my kids students are really like to play, making teams or fighting with each other, right? So these are the software I usually use for myself. But for adult students, well, I use a different platform, obviously, because they're not into kids stuffs, into their their adult stuffs. But sometimes I have to make games for myself, right, in order to like make them understand things. And also like I basically focus on creating presentation slides. I try to create things by myself, right, because I know my students better. So everything's that I already told you, that everything's that already mentioned or that already has invented cannot align with my students. I have to understand their understanding level, then I have to incorporate those steps that I feel that they can or they're able to take. Otherwise, yeah. So I try to create myself. That's what I can say, right?
But it takes really much time to create anything. But that's great, actually. I'm also doing it all the time. So pronunciation can be tough hurdle, as you see. And right now, English is very trendy and the main language all over the world. Actually, we can call it as a global language as well.
Yeah.
But what are the most common mistakes you encounter, and how do you address them? So basically, like while interacting with your students.
Well, the common mistakes that usually my students do is that, well, they have a different accent. They have different, especially Indian accent. So I am kind of like trying to make them understand that the way that you're speaking English, it's not right all the time, because we have to understand the collocation, we have to understand the intonation of a language, because if you don't follow these steps, the sentence that you are trying to mean, in reality, it may not mean in that way. It may mean a different way. So that's why I'm trying to focus on like making them at least articulate, like in a standard way. And basically, they're like it's just different for individual. Some people make mistakes making like caw sound. In English, we say like cat, right? It's starting with the caw, but in Bangladesh, most of the students say it cat with a caw sound, cat, right? Cat, but it should be cat, caw sound. But they are not. They can't do that. Even some aspirated sound, they mostly make mistakes. Like sometimes when they're using like ta sound, ta. So for example, teacher, but they say teacher. I mean teacher. How do I say like
stress. Actually,
like dog?
They emphasize the stress, let's say, improperly.
Yeah, that's another point and problem, right? That I'm facing with my students, because English is something that you can't pronounce in the literal way that you can see from your eyes, right? Because something like, for example, colleague, we say, but the spelling is different. If you can literally pronounce that way, the pronunciation will be different. So it's a bit challenging for my students as well. But the pronunciation problem is the most, or the major part that I'm struggling with. And additionally, like I'm trying to focus on their like facial expression, body language, or hand gesture, or like presentation skill. And I feel that my students from my background, or from the background where I belong to, they have a lot of lackings in order to like present themselves better. They may know something, but they can't present themselves well. I believe that I also have the same problem, right? I sometimes feel that I'm not good enough. I'm trying to learn better, learn more. And then, yeah, as I told you, that I'm learning something from here and trying to, put them in my country somehow. That's why I'm trying to create my impact over there, right?
Yeah.
So presentation problem and pronunciation problem, where I like basically find my students' problem area, right?
Okay. So let's pick into your future plans. So what goals or projects do you hope to accomplish as an ESL instructor, educator, or just let me know about your future plans?
Okay, so like everything that connects to my country, obviously, because my majority of my students are there, and my project is to make a real ESL online platform, maybe offline as well, but not now because I'm not physically present there right now. So my project is to make an online website or platform where I can teach at least kids, because Finland is primarily best at teaching kids. They have different education system for kids. For tertiary education system, they have pretty much same or common one that the whole world is following. But in Finland, like, the kids education system is literally different, and my project is to understand them and to learn how to nurture a kid's learning environment. And I want to make my countries follow the same system as well, because in my country sometimes like teachers verbally misused a lot, physically misused a lot with the students in order to as a result, like, my students are not like becoming more, how do I say, like self-conscious, or they're like somehow, some students are becoming misdirected. So in that sense, like, my project is to learn from here and to
apply it.
And to make a team. Yeah, make a team over there in Bangladesh, right? I already have a team of 4. Like, in my institution, I have a short, like small, just initiative, like maybe 30 students, but it's fine. We have like 4 teachers. They all are from Bangladesh, including me, and they're doing pretty good in order to like accomplish my project. And in my next 2 years, I plan to hire more teachers, right? More teachers, maybe internationally as well. And then I wanted to at least broaden my scale, broaden my horizon over there in Bangladesh, as well as I told you earlier, that I have like planned to work with international students as well. But that's not what I'm thinking right now, because my initial project is to identify a problem, and the problem here in Bangladesh is that the qualified teachers that we are lacking of, right? Like very traditional teacher, like grammar, books, lecture. These are their study technique. But for me, well, I wanted to bring a revolution in ESL teaching sector in Bangladesh, and I wanted to tell people that learn English in English language, not in Bengali language, because when you're learning English in Bengali language, eventually you're learning Bengali. You're not learning English. So there's no point. Yeah. Yeah, there's no point of it. So that's my project, to teach them English in English language. Even though if you feel bored, it's fine. Learn to be bored, because in your future you're gonna work with other company, and then you become bored, because we know that working for other it's not something fun, right? Working life it's boring time.
Yeah, yeah.
So I tend to be bored, and to cope up with it, to incorporate with it, somehow to be okay with the environment, because it's gonna be a change for them as well, right? New things for them, right?
Yeah. So that's really great. Now, finally, let's end our session with a message for aspiring educators. What kind of advice would you give to those teachers who want to make a global impact?
So global impact, it's a huge word, it's a long things. It's not easy things that you can get quickly. So, well, the first advice that I can give is that to have the mentality to learn continuously, because the things has been changing a lot. 20 years back, the teaching style wasn't the same. Now it's different. So in order to be a good teacher, or in order to be a great teacher, you have to have into the process of continuous learning, to learn as long as you're teaching students. Otherwise you might feel that you're misusing the opportunities, because teaching is a novel job. You're trying to create the better future generation. But if you think that you're teaching them the same things that the teacher have taught maybe 3 decades ago, so it's going to be the same result, right? So learn to cope up with things, current technologies and everything, to adapt it and implement those steps into the teaching, and also do it from passion, because if you don't do it from passions, you're not going to be sustaining in this career, because unlike the other career, as I told you earlier, that we get bored, we get bored working for others. But teaching, over the last 4 years, I never get bored. Do you know why? Because I work for myself. It's not for students. I have a dream, I have a passion, I have a project, because project has a starting and ending. So I have an ending plan, that I wanted to do my village. I wanted to look my village like this. So I wanted to build 1,000 students in that way, in the way that I'm looking the future. So it's all about coming from passion, not all about money. I'm living in Finland. I'm earning quite much money here, but still I'm doing teaching in Bangladesh. They're not well paying. Some of the students are not paying at all, but I'm teaching them like for free. But why? It's mainly because I wanted to somehow make the change in my country, and it's coming from passion. So if you want to change, come into the diverse world, for the whole world, well, it must comes from the passion. It's not all about job that you're taking or that you're being paid. Once you are thinking in that way, that you're being paid for these hours, and you're going to somehow will not feel motivated enough to work for your students. So these two things that they need to keep in mind, keep it in their mind, in order to sustain in this journey, right?
Definitely. So we are the teachers, are not only educators. Basically, we are leaders who leave impactful change on our students, both professionally and personally. So thank you very much for your passion, aspiration, and so on. So for your recommendations as well. That's a wrap for today's episode of New Voices in ELT, where we dive deep into the stories, struggles, challenges and successes of one teacher making waves in education. So thanks for putting your snorkels on and joining us beneath the surface. Don't forget to follow, share, leave your thoughts. Your voice might be the next one as we can feature. So until next time, keep inspiring, innovating, and keep your passion float. So bye bye. Have a nice
Wonderful.
day.
Thank you, Sabina, ma'am.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.
Bye bye.